many different varieties of props that you can use. So I just told you to lie down, but I lied. I want you to sit back up again real quick. Cue the grumbles.
No, Miss Bree.
Yeah, actually it's Madame Bree to you. Can I borrow your,
This thing?
yeah. Okay, so this is something that I've used in a different place, situations where we haven't had fancy props, right? But maybe these were the only props that we've had. So another way of getting some of that thoracic arc extension support is that we've done this sometimes. So you see how I've placed this block sideways and going, and then this one for the head. So this is like that. Actually, this is kind of I use this as a psoas release for them in that class as well. So and it's actually kind of lovely. So this is how I do the psoas release, having the head up like this. Oops, can you see? It's so comfortable. And then this. So this will give you a bigger, so if you don't have a bolster, if you don't have a whatever, that's one option. And then just play around with appropriate lift for somebody's head. Like that feels pretty decent for my head. Okay, so that's one option. The other option would be to use a bolster. A towel, rolled up towel is really good. I think everybody has a towel in their life, right? And a blanket. So don't you got options. But for now we have these fancy things. And so let's lie down. So now you can lie down again on them. Oh, I know. Sorry, it wasn't worth it. Okay. So yeah, where are you putting this black strip or your towel or blanket or whatever it is? Play around and discover a spot that just feels, if we're going to do the Goldilocks thing, that just, what if it was up closer to the top of my shoulders? What if it was in the middle? What if it was near the tips of the what are these things called again? Scapula. So find your Goldilocks spot. There. And what's kind of nice about this is that it's not so thick. So this black strip is not so thick. So it doesn't put you into this really extreme rib thrust action here. Now, let your arms, you can find a place for your arms that will be, you can place them out to the side, above the black strip, below the black strip. But in fact, why don't we just do a little bit of floor angels while we're here? Because instead of just let's multitask, instead of just letting your arms relax. But now, because we're aware of the relationship between your arms and your ribs, what would we want to recommend? Hey, little talkers in the corner. Okay, so what would we, because when we have our arms lower than the ribs in this elevated position, what usually happens to the ribs? Yeah, they rib thrust. So in this case, while you're doing some floor angels, I'm going to suggest that you bring your hands about the same height as your shoulders, if not a little higher. So don't even put your hands on, don't worry about having hands on the ground. And just start to circle your arms around. Good. So just a couple of these. I'm not worried about how you're moving, are you circling, are you externally rotating, are you armpits of powering it? You can do whatever you want. Just start to wake things up. Good. Okay. Now, let your arms relax by your side for a moment and just get a sense of how everything feels. How do your chest and shoulders feel now? Now, take your head into your hands. So you're going to hold, you're going to make a little, interlace your fingers, make a little pocket of your hands, and you're going to let the outer edges of your thumbs and that mound of your thumb, right, outer edge of your hand, support the base of your skull. So now we're going to connect a sense of traction here. So when we were talking about thoracic extension earlier, we were referencing it in a sense of traction. So you're lifting your head up enough with your hands doing the work so that your head and shoulders are off the floor. Good. And now you've got a view of your rib cage, and I want you to look down at your ribs and see if you can get a sense that the front of the ribs are in the same plane as your front of the pelvis. Another way to think about that is tucking the ribs into the abdominal wall. Everybody got that? So you might feel a little bit of core engagement. That's cool. Now, do it with your knees bent, if you don't mind. That's just going to give you a little bit of stability. Good. Okay, so you're still holding. Meanwhile, let's check back into our head. Is your head still really helping you hold itself up? That's maybe going to be the hardest part. So keep inviting your neck. So think about the spinous processes at the back of your neck. You can even take one of your thumbs and feel them. And then from the spinous processes, then take your attention deep into the vertebrae. And can you get a sense of the vertebrae in your neck? And get a sense of them dropping and lengthening. So dropping back toward the floor and lengthening in that gentle sense of traction. Meanwhile, your ribs are gently down. So if you feel like you're fighting yourself with the ribs popping up off the floor, you got to actively engage a bit. Don't force. You're not with the belly, right? You're just finding that sweet spot where there's stability in your core. And then getting a sense of that tractioning first in the cervical spine. And then can you add that sense of traction from the spot where you've got the black thing underneath you. So you might be doing this and go, what am I supposed to be feeling here? I don't necessarily feel anything in my thoracic spine. And that's fine. What we're doing, again, is mapping our brain to our body, mapping our mind to the spine, and then just getting this little bit of reach. But let's change the spots now. So why don't, depending on where you are on your back on that prop, maybe you'll scoot down a little bit or you'll scoot up a little bit. Just make sure you're in a new spot. Okay. And then play again with that sense of traction. This might be more work for your arms, you might be noticing, but that's fine. That's kind of a fun bonus then. Invite the vertebrae. Remember that image of your vertebrae that are deep inside your body. Invite them to be heavy. Can you get a sense of those vertebrae dropping downward? And your arms are gently cradling your head, giving you that gentle bit of traction, extension, length. And of course, you're breathing. We'll spend just a couple more deep breaths on this angle in this particular spot. And then you can release and let your head relax. You can let your arms do whatever. Take some big deep breaths and allow yourself to integrate that work now that you're here in this more relaxed, still position. Now stay in this particular spot and then wrap your arms around yourself like you're giving yourself a great big hug. See if you can try to find, even if you've got the mobility or ability, if you don't have, if you're able to get a hold of your scapula or at least reach toward them. Now let's go back into that sense of thoracic rotation. So before because what we're going to do is start to move right to left, and what this is going to be is eventually your shoulder blades are going to roll off from side to side. But initiate the movement as best you can, not from the shoulders and the hands, but from the thoracic spine. And when you feel like the thoracic spine can't turn anymore, then you can add that extra little twist. So side to side. And your head can follow. If this is too much of an arc in your neck, if it creates too much hyperextension, you're more than welcome to use a thin blanket or block to support your head a little bit too, if you're feeling like your neck is too hyperextended. Cross, change the cross so your other arm is in front. So the movement's initiated through the thoracic spine, but you're also going to notice that your core will likely need to help you. The shoulders can help after the upper back, after the thoracic spine has initiated the movement. Good. Returning to center, and then going back into, either go into a new spot, go back into your original spot, and then you can choose. I'm going to give you two options. You can keep your arms as they were, so give you that hug feeling, the arms wrapped around, or adding the hands, go back to the support of your neck. So you would, right, cup your head into your hands again. This is going to take, this version, if you're using the head, is going to take a little bit more abdominal work. So if that, or core work. So if that is feeling more than what you want to do, then don't do it. So choose your adventure. So especially if you are doing the head holding version, you'll see how much more active of a movement it is. So be extra attentive to how you're initiating that movement. Think about your thoracic spine, and everything else is following along for the ride. Good. And then exhale and release. Take a moment. You can keep your back on your in the spot that you're in, or you can switch it up a little bit if you need a little bit of a break. Okay, just a couple more deep breaths. So again, as you're breathing deeply, find, stay in the same spot, find another spot, but we're just staying somewhere in the upper thoracic spine, right between your shoulder blades. And then you're going to hold your head into your hands again. Your feet to knees are bent on the floor. And then you're going to open your feet just a little bit wider than pelvis width apart. And you're going to, I see you guys can see what I'm doing. It looks like I'm moving my knees from side to side, but how I'm initiating the movement is from my pelvis. So I'm going to talk you through that. So lift, so you're still gently supporting your head. And then, if that's just if your arms are getting tired and you're just not into that extra work, you can create support by using a block for your head like so. See what I mean? So choose your adventure. This is a nice supportive version. So now, okay, outer corner or outer edge of your right hip lift up off the floor. So the right side of your glutes lift off, lower down. Lift the left side of your pelvis off the floor, so the left set of glutes are off. And then just do that back and forth a few times. The legs will go where the legs will go, but here you're initiating the movement from your pelvis. Now, as you're doing this, double check to see if you have a flattened lumbar spine. Double check to see if your lower back is flat, and if it is, can you find a more neutral pelvis? A reminder that a neutral pelvis is where we're not flattening your low back. So retain just a little bit, even just a little bit of that lumbar curve here. And then let's see if we can make the movement a little bit bigger. So lift the right side of your pelvis off the floor a little more. Your legs will go to the right, your legs will go to the left, but your pelvis is doing the movement. Now, meanwhile, did you lose your ribs? Did you go back into a rib thrust a bit? Try to keep the ribs down. So we're doing a little bit more mobilization for the core. And then if you're feeling a little bit more adventurous, you could add the shoulders. So what that means, so let's say the left side of my pelvis lifts up. I'm going to bring the right shoulder off of this support a bit. And then I'm going to lift the right side of the pelvis, left shoulder off. This doesn't have to be a big movement. If it feels like it's too much for you, don't worry about it for right now. You can think about, if there's an image that works for you, you can think about yourself just like a little cloth that you're wringing out, using the core as the middle. And if you're not doing that variation, continue what you are doing and breathing. Good. Now, we'll take the release out of that, and then you're going to take the thing behind you, that's between your shoulder blades, and just place it underneath your head. Let your hands rest onto your belly. And take a few moments to tune in and notice, especially now that that black strap is out of the shoulders, how does your back feel now on the floor? Now, while you're lying down here, take a few moments to breathe deeply. Do that 360-degree rib cage expansive breath. Especially trying to breathe into the places where the block or that strap, this black prop, was supporting. Nice. Okay, take one more big expansive breath. And then you're going to roll over. Sorry to get you moving again, but you're going to roll over to one side. Sit up enough so that you can now take this. You're going to lie down on it. Kind of where your bra strap is. But again, everybody's bra straps might be in different spots. So I'd say bottom edge of the shoulder blades-ish. Somewhere like that. But you listen to your body there, because sometimes that might be too much. So take a few moments. If this feels like it's too much and doesn't actually feel good, feel free to roll up a blanket instead. And then you can decide how much of a roll and lift you want for that blanket. But if you're okay here, everybody okay? Is that it? Okay, good. I would even, you know what, so if everybody wants to look up here, what I just did was even that little bit of extra. So as another thing is like extra tuck that top part, just for if you feel like your neck wants a little bit more lift, yeah, that might feel really good. So experiment. It might feel good for some of us, it might feel not so good for others. Now, let's bring our arms up to the ceiling. Now, what's nice about this strip is that it's wide enough so that when your arms are up to your ceiling and you let your shoulder blades drop down, they're really dropping on either side of that, right? You can, now here's some, so I want you guys to, your arms are up, you're going to do the rhomboid push-up upside down. Basically first version, you just want to do the squeeze. Try to squeeze your shoulder blades into the strip. And then widen the shoulder blades away from it. If you're using a towel at home, let's say, you know, it doesn't matter if your towel isn't quite as narrow as the strip, you'll still receive the benefits. But this movement, yes, your arms are going up and down away from the ceiling, toward the ceiling, but they're moving, your arms are moving because your shoulder blades are moving. So I'll do a couple more of those. Good. Now slowly let your arms just relax, however. Arms still up toward the ceiling. Let your shoulder blades relax, however. And then we're going to just slowly, slowly, slowly open our arms apart. But in this elevated position of the thoracic spine a little bit, some of us might find that it's not super comfortable to go all the way with the hands on the floor. Maybe instinctively we want to keep our arms a little wider, because watch what happens. So if your arms are already down on the ground, do you notice how much your shoulder blades are squeezing into the strap, the strip? Does that make sense, everybody? So now let's use some of the biofeedback that the strip can provide us and start to move your shoulder blades away. So when you're trying to, in this widely extended position of the arms, as you try to move your shoulder blades away from each other, to do so, you've got to bring your arms off the ground. So however high off the ground here. And so it's like you're holding on to this giant beach ball. And then let's go internal, external rotation. Bringing your attention deep into your shoulder bones, the head of your humerus rotating deep and around into the joint. And then do the so we're going to do a slight twist, literally, on our floor angels. You're going to keep your arms the height that they're in, and you're going to do a floor angel, but with this internal and external rotation the whole time. So trying to be mindful about keeping your shoulder blades in this wide position. So you're simultaneously extending your arms away from your body. And then you can be bringing the arms down. So isn't this delightful? Right? So if you're used to floor angels where you're simply circling your arms around and around, that's really a beautiful movement. But then we're adding that beautiful variety and diversity, getting the rotation that's so delicious for your shoulder joints. So we're not concerned about how close our arms are to the floor. What we're just doing is providing new movement inputs. And if at any point you feel like, you know what, this particular spot and angle I want to stay, then stay. And maybe you want to stay in that externally rotated position. Maybe you want to stay in, just explore and sense and feel. I'll do that for a couple more moments. Good. Meanwhile, just for your last couple breaths, keep double checking into your ribs. Are you doing this and your ribs are really thrusting up off of your support? If so, just invite them to relax back down. A couple more breaths. And then you can relax your arms back to the floor. And then when you have your arms back down on the floor, observe how they feel. Now come off of, pull the strap out from underneath you, or strip. And then let your whole spine, your whole body be supported by the floor. And noticing how that feels. What's the experience like right now in your arms, your chest, your shoulders, your thoracic spine? Come back into that big 360-degree breath and see if are you able to receive and expand more breath on your inhale?